Hello Blender folks, welcome and welcome back. I'm Pxy-STREAM and we are continuing with this live stream on organic rigging in Blender, and we are going to last time I had an incredible success on a matter that is extremely complicated, nearly a hard problem, but there exist solutions. I was able to find a solution from a concept of converging the the axis, let's say orthogonal poses versus diagonal poses. So first let me make sure I don't mess up something. Let me show you how that works. So turning off all the action bone constraints, then entering, resetting all the poses. Yeah, alright, making sure okay. Just making sure this is a reset, otherwise maybe I could bring these to, all this is not necessary. So I could bring this data into the action, and this is extremely dangerous. So I dislike how Blender handles that. It's too easy to wreak havoc action related stuff like 3D animation stuff. It's I still don't get why it is such a great idea to have the UI working like that. Many people that come from other software, CG software for 3D animation, they complain about the NLA editor and even 3D animators in Blender that got used to. They also tell about horrible stories of adaptation, and I'm in the middle ground. I like same thing. I think it could be easier, but I'll be humble here. I don't really understand why they think the developers, the Blender team thinks that's a great idea to have made. Maybe it's easier, maybe there's some logic that is Blender structural, there was no work around that. So because Blender do a lot of things, so it's a generalist CG software, it can do even grease pencil stuff, 2D animation, so it's really insane. And maybe because of that it would be too difficult to do otherwise. So I'm more inclined to believe that to think that it's something like that happened, and this is why it's so difficult to make 3D animation in Blender. I mean, not animating the character posing, that is easy for the experts. What I mean is making scenes, right? Combining animated objects, the actions into the NLA. This is editor, it's crazy. This is multiple editors that do nearly the same thing, but they have different specializations. While on the software that I use, usually we have this in a easier way to manage, much simpler ways. So okay, so currently, I have an action editor here on the timeline, but I'm not animated. So let's go to the action, and I have had already plenty of problems with this, but we are getting this under control. So here I have set the proper keyframing. So each of these not odd numbers, right, but 10, 30, 50, 70, these are the poses. The poses, so the first ones are orthogonal. So this is front bending of the leg, this is back bending of the leg. It's really orthogonal to the pose space of the character, which is also aligned to the world space. So this is orthogonal, right? Then we have, then side bending of the outside. We've already made all the helper bones automation for all these ones, and every time, as you can see, it goes back like start on 0, then on 20, then on 40, then on 60, and so forth. All of these, let's say, even numbers, if we take off the multiple of 10, then these are the same rest pose, which is, for my character, is a T-pose. However, there's those bones you're seeing here. Yeah, so this is called action evaluator, but it is just for the, yeah, so how do, yeah, map. Okay, so map, it's not exactly map, it's, I don't have a name for this, but I'll call it a map action evaluator. So this is a bone that serves to converge, it transforms data. So it transforms the other transforms of bones. So what I'm trying to do here, what I was succeeded, is that I took the X and Z axis of rotation of the type bone, which rotates wildly, right? Which is normal for this femur, right? Yeah, femur, I think is the name. Humerus is, I think, is the upper arm bone. So there, because of its wild rotations, it is very difficult to Blender know, unless we use a sophisticated output-oriented system for the automation. Blender just doesn't know what this pose, which is not an orthogonal pose, this will be a diagonal pose. Blender just doesn't know by default what this pose means. Oh, it's a diagonal pose, yeah, but what this means, Blender doesn't know, so it cannot figure it out, and we need to make it figured out. So the idea, there are ideas with drivers, with some expressions, because in drivers we can place multiple inputs, like this. Let's say, this is just an example, it doesn't matter, I'm gonna delete this. So a driver, anywhere I put, it doesn't matter. So here you see I have one input, but I can add multiple variable, add input variable. So this means that I can get indeed the X and Z axis, but even if I can do that, that doesn't mean that the solution for this is easy. Actually, it's complicated, not very intuitive at all. And then if we have drivers, we have to manage to not only to write a correct expression on the code that it's used, which I think is a mix of, it's Python, but maybe there's other things there that I don't know. So, and then besides that, we need to have the drivers editor open. We need perhaps even to adjust graph editor. It's crazy. It's overly complicated, but it can work. But I found an easier way without driver. That means using transformation bone constraints, which usually drivers can do similar. So this mimics the driver functionality. So what I'm doing here, you see this action evaluator. So what happens is that the action bone constraint, it has a cool idea. Let's pick an action bone constraint here, which is, okay, they are all turned off here, because if I turn them on, okay, I'm sure I'm not the auto key enabled, so I'll have double transforms on my, actually I'll need to do this all simultaneous for all the, okay, let's turn on all the, okay, so now I'm having double transforms because I'm inside the action for which those action bone constraints were made for. How to explain? Yeah, this is meta language. It's bizarre, but yeah, as I go inside the action, the same bones that contain the action bone constraints, they are being affected by the action bone constraints here inside the action bone constraints, in which I've posed them to give the action bone constraints the inputs that I want for those corrective poses. And so I can enable these action bone constraints when I'm outside the action. And then of course I'm gonna reset the pose, and if I same thing as the action bone constraints, if I something is odd happening here, so I'm not sure what. Oh, of course I know what this is, of course, because no. Okay, so something went wrong. Maybe it's something I was having on that file. This was not supposed to happen. Oh, is this the version where I was changing these bones were experimental? Hold on. This is the case where I changed the reference for the mapping? Yeah, okay. So this is, no, this is the wrong file, folks, sorry. This is, I was trying to do a trick here, because this is very specific to this rig, because this is the rest position of the mesh and the deformed bone of the thigh. So this orientation, which is not aligned with pose space, the armature object, right, itself, right, the armature object, so it's not aligned with pose space, so the pose space of the frontal, the front of the character, let's say like that, is not aligned with the front of the character correctly. So this bone will tend to create it's hard to visualize what would be its X and Z rotation, because they are oblique to the, yeah, they are not aligned. So this makes everything more difficult. However, by creating another bone, like a map type bone, so this is the, I'm not gonna do this right now because this will be in this stream, because this will be extremely time consuming. So I was trying, maybe I can, I'm not sure where it should go, so yeah, so this is why I left it here. So it's aligned here, you see, the Z axis is pointing forward. Oh, hold on. No, but this is not pose space. It's use local space. So maybe this is why I was having some weird z-axis. Anyways, this should be the z-axis rotation, the positive one. But maybe it's not. We see the values of the rotation here, the left, but sometimes something can happen that I have to invert it, and I don't understand. The x-axis is working fine. Anyway, so this is positive and this is negative. It's something about even the bone being like here. So from this, the parenting doesn't work in relation to the, yeah, maybe I should parent it here. Okay, parent offset to the command hips. And then the parenting to the thigh doesn't work for mapping. For some reason, the bone constraint doesn't recognize its local coordinates changing through parenting. So this, I never am sure about that. So I need to bone constraint it with a copy transform type. So this is sort of not equivalent, but sort of similar to parent relation, but between bones. But this will activate its transforms. So this means that I can map the transforms of the thigh. I can use the map thigh left to as a means of changing the axis. Instead of using this axis, I'll use the axis of this bone, which have the proper alignment that I want. So it means I don't have to get the thigh bone, the whole character, I don't have to turn it in a T-pose if I can make this mapping. And so the question arises then, okay, so if I do that, should I use custom space, or should I target the map type directly, or what should I do, right? So the first, in the beginning, I tried So you can easily visualize what's happened if, okay, but before this is just some parenthesis, but it's an interesting case scenario. So let's say, so I've mapped the x, ignore all that, so I will return later. So I've mapped the x of axis of rotation of the, yeah, let's go back to the, after I open this file. So I think this was prior that I started to change this stuff. So here, yeah, so here is still mapping the type, and here we don't have those craziness that were happening. Those things were happening because I've, as I changed the x, I've lost some of the, yeah, I'll have to redo all the, or just readjust all of the actions, because there would be some, proportionally, there would be some wrong placements according to the pose. So it's very delicate, right? But this is why I could not do, if I do that, which will be good to give regularity to the rig, I cannot do that without not expecting to have to redo all these things, which took a lot of time. But at least I have the positions, I have some approximation, so I could indeed try to take the keyframes of them, these bones, from other Blender file. Yeah, that could be complicated, but that can work too. So maybe it's just a copy paste thing. But anyway, so that's why I wouldn't redo all these corrections. It will be true in the live stream. So, but I want to make this reduction. I should have this realignment, artificial realignment, because that will be giving regularity. It's better to develop stuff like that. None of this will be required if I started with a regular T-pose, right? So, which is not my case here. So here you see this bone here, what it's doing. It's the action evaluator. So what this does is that for the diagonal pose, that means, okay, so here we see that the action bone constraints are, yeah, they are all enabled, and the rig is doing well. So I have all the corrections automated for most poses, because I did all the orthogonal poses, and it should be good, just as yeah, okay. But you see, I haven't completed the diagonals. At least this one is the one, that the last remaining one. And the test that I was successful on doing, let's use global rotation, okay. It's hard to find it, but let's just, okay, disable, let's go into, so I don't risk to destroy the action. Alright, so let's simplify this thing. I go in the actions, and then I go on that 90. So this is a diagonal pose, and on this pose I get out of the action. For this pose, if I turn for this pose, I need a converging axis, and so the way I did that is through the method that I used, is that I built, it's not looking great here, but nearly so. This is the diagonal one, so it just stacks, it targets the action evaluator, which is this bone here, which is transforming, what it is doing is transforming the x-axis of rotation of the thigh into a y, into this y, positive y, so it grows like that. So it only, when the z-axis and the x-axis of the thigh are at their maximum, this bone, it doesn't matter where it goes the y, but this is more intuitive, so, and I was experimenting, so that's it ended up like that. So here, even if we don't see the axis rotation, This grows probably the x-axis, because the x-axis is this the x-axis is this, yeah, and the z-axis, the z and the z-axis, okay, the z-axis is this and the x-axis is this. So if I move the thigh like that, rotate in this direction, these bones will grow a lot already, will move up a lot and along its, because of this transformation bone constraint. And actually sometimes it's not very intuitive what's happening, because of course this pose also make it things more rest position make things harder. But yeah, here the bone is moving. So basically we have local space on our orientation. So this bones is the actually owner local space. Wait, maybe this is incorrect. So target, no, why am I doing that? So I think I've mixed up concepts. The target use its own local space. Yeah, we need the local space of the target. So this was ridiculous what I've just done there. So now you see it goes much more. Yeah, so even too much. Why do I have 90 degrees? Oh yeah, so I did a brutal mistake here, folks, but good that I found it. So local space, this is the owner local space, so this is the owner of the bone constraints here, these two. So this transforms the x-axis of rotation on quaternions, yeah, because the thigh is on quaternary. All the bones here are in quaternary. There are a lot of discussion. There's some discussion about that, what is best, but I prefer quaternion for now. I've heard it's more versatile, so, but apparently is arguable in many conditions. So target is it on its own local space. So now we know that the x-axis that moves on this orientation creates a lot of push in the bone, so it grows. So it's like stacking. So I turn this off. It just don't do nothing. However, so this rotation is not right, because actually the thigh rotates I want it to rotate here, and so I've calculated that this is about 150 degrees from that pose. So that will be 90, that will be 180, and this is about 150. So I don't know why this is incorrect. So if this is incorrect like that, this will be so the maximum of rotation that I want this to operate, it's until to keep growing, right? The limit is 0, so below 0 doesn't do nothing, but above 0 it will grow, and of course it needs to be enabled. So below 0 nothing happens, and above 0 it will push the bone. So now it's not pushing like crazy, because the maximum 100% instead of 90 degrees, which was wrong, is actually a lot more, 150 degrees. So it needs to go until that pose for it to reach the maximum, which is on the map 2, which is so from the rotation of the thigh, right, all that, to a maximum. So we match the maximum with the maximum here, all x-axis. I don't need these ones, but yeah, I just need the y-axis of this one for location. So it's pushed 3 meters, else it doesn't nothing from here, else it goes towards the maximum its repositioning, and this stacks. This starts stacking on the transform of this local bones y-axis, right? We don't see it stacking here, but yeah, this value here, the on local coordinates, it starts stacking through the bone constraints. So it stacks the x from the x rotation, and it stacks from, so these are additive, by the way. It's here, mix add, okay, both. So it doesn't matter which one of them goes first, and this is the same thing. Okay, I've changed the local space, except that this is for the z-axis. So let's just look at it. So here this is incorrect also. If I'm not wrong, the value that I got for the type z, so I'm rotating on z on normal, so it's foolproof. Yeah, so here we don't, oh, we can see the angle. All right, let's see. So that might be why things were going weird. So I want something about, yeah, 90 degrees, 90. Yeah, this is good, 90, because of this, right? So I'm using this for now, so 90 degrees here. So negative 90, this is wrong, because what's happening is I was using the wrong thing. So this is why I was not mapping correctly this rotation. So this is what was going crazy. Yeah, I must be very careful. But I want to, now I know why what I was trying to do before with the mapped bone was not working also, because I was doing this incorrection there. Okay, so minimal detail but critical to the function. So this is, as well as it is, just 90. So it's not on the minimum also, it should be on the maximum. So another mistake here, I barely almost missed it. And here we bring it to here. So if I start to stack this, it should start to grow. Yes, it is. Yes, it is very clear what is happening here. So, and if I turn it off, yeah, exactly. So if I add both here, if I try to match the center, it should stack the values of both. If I can find the most radical pose would be that. So it's not a dot product, it's an addition, right? It is clear here that it doesn't matter the order of the bone constraints. And so here what we do is that now that I've got these transforms, what they are doing, they're just stacking the y-axis, local y-axis value here of this bone. Then I can go to the action, bone constraints, and for the diagonal pose, I can, okay, so there's the evaluation time here, but this doesn't matter because this will be to use it with a driver. There we can do that, but I've tried, it's more complicated, I found, and I wanted a simpler solution. Also, drivers pose some annoyances. So here, okay, so this is like all the others, except that here, instead of the target being the type bone and rotation of the type bone, whatever, they will all, the two rotations which I cannot put on a single action bone constraints, like in a place like that, they are converging on the y location, local y location, on local space. Yes, here it can be the target on orientation, although I think this is shouldn't do any difference here. But yeah, just to make sure, here it's okay, because we really want this y location for this axis. So I'm not totally sure about how this operates. I always am in doubt if it relates to the rest position, the axis on the rest position only, or if it is dynamic, so static axis, or if the axes are as dynamic here, so as the bone will, yeah, because now I've parented it to the body, so maybe it's dynamic. So I'm not sure if this affects dynamics. Let's say the bone is related to its local coordinate system, followed by a correction for the difference in target owner rest pose orientations. When applied as local transform to the owner, produce the same global motion as the target if the parents are still. Okay, it talks about something like that, but this relation is bizarre. When applied as local transform to the owner, produces the same global motion as the target if the parents are still in. Okay, no, this is extremely confusing. So let's say what it tells about local space. The transformation of the target evaluated to its local coordinates. The transformation of the target bone is evaluated to its local coordinate system. Okay. Followed by a correction for the difference in target and owner pose when applied as local transform. Okay, so this one just has indeed little information. So this one, so maybe this is dynamic and this is static. Local coordinate system, yeah, but static. Alright, so I didn't know about that, so maybe this, not sure folks, but anyways, I'm using that, and for now it could cause problems, yes, this decision, but eventually I'll find out what this thing but usually that should be okay. There's a risk here, but there's risk everywhere, so the important thing is that it seems to work, and that we keep learning. So the thing here is that this will converge the X and Z axis into the local space Y axis. Okay, so, and that means that if I, so you see what those helper bones, they are all moving, right? Because they can move on a negative, but this will never go negative, so no, not a problem. So this will, as it stacks, it will cause that motion there. Actually it goes ad infinitum. No, but something seems to be odd about the limited go. Anyway, it never goes so far because apparently the evaluation from here, it can go beyond 1. So as long as this, even though I set a maximum, so maximum of 6 meters I think of this Y location, so this is the 6 meters, I think here 6 meters is equivalent to the sum of the maximum 3 meters that we have from this and from this. So it's very simple. It's not a dot product. I don't know how, if I were to turn this into a dot product from the transformation bone constraints, I think this would require a driver. However, by just adding stuff, we can probably get a good enough result, maybe even better than the multiplication, because this is so delicate rig that it's very easy to, even with dot product, it doesn't solve everything, right? It still have problems to solve. The additive thing, stacking thing is interesting, I found, because either it will add from if there's too much X on one, well, this thing won't grow too much. If there is too much Z, same thing. And however, if there is both of them, then they will then the maximum corrections to the automation will happen to the bones according to that position that the diagonal position, which is the maximum, should be the maximum of the. And at this point maybe I did a small mistake, which was that when I've made that position for the, okay, let me, so you see how complicated this is, right? But I'm getting the good idea. This requires a good tutorial. I think I want to do that from scratch, right? But this is not the case right now. I will, this is a project for the near future. So for now, at least I have the live streaming of this. So yeah, turn off this. Then I go into the action. The action that I've used to create the pose, right? So this diagonal pose, the problem of this pose is that it's a bit visual. Oh, I want a good deforms on that, but this is not necessarily the point when the X and Z of the type are at their maximum. So this is something that, to map this out, is a bit difficult because this is I key. I cannot control the rotation of the type directly from the I key. I will have to make some visual approximation, because I cannot just rotate this bone. It is bone constraint, it is a lot of things, right? They are child parenting connected. It's like this bone is very, very constrained. So there's no way I can easily match its rotation, even if I pose, if I can get an approximation, that's good enough. So if we were to do that, so let's duplicate this here. Let's make this thing here. Then what I'm gonna do, parent, I'm gonna clear out whatever it's, it's this big one, so delete all that. Okay, so here it is. So rotate, we are normal here, so good. Rotate positive 90 degrees, rotate positive X, so okay, so this is the 90-90, folks. So this is nearly like as the orthogonal pose, right? But this because of this rest position. So you see, using this type bone to map the axis that we want, because we started from the orthogonal, is not too good. This means that, but I still want the corrections to affect this pose. So what will happen eventually is that when the leg is on this pose, that's pretty confusing, right? It's like the bone, the type bone will be, this is the maximum 90, this is the 6 meter. When the type is here, this goes to its maximum according to the transformation that bone constraint. So let's see if that's true. And also you need the rotation, because we cannot control, we can, okay, so it will be something like that, but doesn't seem to be true. It seems that we need to go more. No, if we go more, it's because it keeps growing, and then the problem is that because it's bone constraint, we don't really see how much this is. So now I've just lost the, okay, so I cannot reset this bone, so I reset everything except, I reset everything except for this bone. And so if I try to move this, let's try to see what is 6 meters. 3, wait, something is wrong about these calculations. Is that the maximum? I never see that bone that far. Both are enabled. Okay, let's do some more tests here. Can't I make it stop growing? It looks like... Okay, it stops growing, but why it goes so far? Oh yeah, of course, I know why. Because 3 meters is too much, maybe, for... I mean, it doesn't matter really. Yeah, so... Okay, so this is probably the maximum for the z-axis. Oh, and the maximum for... Of course. Sorry, folks. Of course, the front bending, the X only, would be that pose here. Yeah, then I remember now. So this is orthogonal. So this is 3 meters indeed for the X, except that the X-axis of this pose, this is not orthogonal. It's still, the X-axis is still this is wrong positioned. Okay, it's unparented. I've reset wrongly again. So let's do a rotate on X-axis 150. So here, so this is the maximum, and so if I reach there, the X would be on its maximum. So I can still try to see. Yeah, there's rotation here. It's a bit difficult. Yeah, I think it's here. Okay, so here it will be the maximum of the axis, of the X-axis. So it's not there like orthogonal. So and so this moves a lot, right? And so if I were to combine them two, I would need to have which pose? Something like... It's certainly not the pose that I've made there. But that's okay, because what we want anyways is that in the end approximately this needs to be some precise, but so if we can get the bones to move on this rest position, on this pose, diagonal pose, enough for the correction, that's fine. So what we could do is just maybe so how could I improve the diagonal thing? It would require to... Yeah, we cannot reinforce this. Yeah, we can reinforce. We just reduce the maximum. So this means that will be a difference. So from 0, no transforms to the corrective bones through this action bone constraint when this bone is at 0, but when its local Y location is at 0, but as it approaches 6 meter, which is the maximum, if we reduce this value, then this means that we can accelerate the... So it means that even if we never reach the maximum, which would be 6 meter, the maximum is below that threshold. So the bone doesn't need to reach like that. Would be a very radical to start to reach the deforms that we want for the pose, which is this one. I've made the corrections for this pose, but I could have done in a more accurate way if I right? If I did, oh yeah. Now I'm confused why. Okay, rotate X, rotate Z. It looks like it's not in between, right? So rotate Z, rotate X. Okay, this does not give the final. Okay, so interesting. Okay, because I'm resetting. I'm not stacking. Okay, so this is it's not an animation, right? I'm just reconfiguring, resetting it. So either 90x, either 90z positives, or the middle would be perhaps this. Yeah, so it would need to do additive stuff, but doesn't matter. I can do this from, yeah, if I do this, yeah, doesn't matter. What we got the idea. So my goal here to simplify this stuff would be to, of course, use this bone, and then this is something that I would be tempted to test on the other files, since I was already doing this madness, except that here I'm going to use this as a, so the map type. So this is just testing to see if this automation will work. Currently that file is corrupted in the sense that you see everything got, but this is probably doing as bad as it is because I did that wrong. So the map type is the target, so I'm targeting this time. This bone moves, yeah, along the type, so it is dynamic and it is bone constrained. So this is dangerous for the, but we need to use the target with its own local space. So it's aligned with the pole space of the armature, which is facing forwards. It's sort of aligned with world space also, except that there's with some inversion, doesn't matter. So now, yeah, forget about world space. It's pole space maybe. Anyways, it's the local space. So z pointing forward. So the type, the mechanism type, the z is pointing forward. The z of the bone is also facing forward, but with this tilting. So this is the alignment that I want, except that this one is even straight, and this one, so it's like totally it's aligned with it's totally straight up down. The mechanism bone has still a little bending here, which is normal for the inverse kinematics. So I'm not even trying to align it with the mechanism, with the T-pose. I could, but no, I want perfect alignment, the most regular thing as possible. And so this means that, let's see the axis there. So so it's mostly aligned like the mechanism type bone. So this gives me an easy readability of the rig. So what I do here, now that I've made this essential correction, now I know also that if I wanted to fix that, this was a mad thing that I've done, a wrong thing that I've done, because I got the wrong spaces. So here I want something like that. So it's 100, positive 100, positive 120 rotation. So for evaluation bone, transformation bone constraint, for getting the z-axis, not of the type bone, but of the map type bone, that would be so the owner use its own local space, which cannot be, yeah, and this use also the map use also its own local space, and I think it will be static. If it's not, at least this is the correct thing. If I use that, then I wouldn't use these axis bones for target. I would still use this, and this is ridiculous. So, and I was making a mistake somewhat like that. So rotation here, the maximum z is 120, and 3 meters. All right. So this we can close already. Then map 2, this is the z. Then we go for the x. So same thing here. Correct this. I think this is, let's see. So the type reach something like 150. That's the more or less what I want. So this is the values that I remember, right? So by heart. So yes, it's already there. I was using this for the approximation. So rotation of the x-axis, the maximum. So local spaces, all things and all that, all sources on the axis to simplify, add, mix, add, and then maximum 3 meters. Here this seems completely correct. Let's see here. Also x completely accurate. Okay, so it's all positive, so it's a maximum. Just recheck, double check. Yeah, maximum, because I have changed that. Oh, this is wrong. This is maximum. Why it is so? Yeah, so it was going some crazy inverse. Max with max, min with min. So all right, and now let's double check for the triple check actually for this one, max and max, and these are all x, and are these all z? All z. Okay, good. And this is the z, right? So gonna save on this file, and now what should happen, we're not looking at the deforms, the consequence, because this is something that I should have done since the beginning. Currently all the action bone constraints are on the helper bones here are disabled. No, they are enabled. Alright, so here I can make some change. Local spaces, is that anything? Yeah, so this is the question that I have right now. I'm not sure if that I'm not sure what this is doing. So it should use the local coordinates of that. So this should be fine, except that this bone will move if the type moves. So there's no reason why target. I'm thinking, yeah, so let's leave it like that for now, because so this now means that the maximum pose now should be easy, right? Should be somewhere like here. Yeah, we see that we are reaching a very high in the, so if this moves down, it moves down. If this moves here, it will grow because of the z, right? Move up. So here will be like the maximum, somewhere like here. So as we move this far away, it starts to, can it go negative? No, it never goes negative, as it shouldn't, because yeah, so looking at this bone. So it's the action evaluator. So here we got good regularity, and so here this diagonal have the very stacked stuff. So we can check on a rest position from here. We can see yeah, okay, so I'm gonna make something here. So Shift D, I'm gonna GY6, Shift D, GY3, no, GY-3. Then I'm going to reduce this, let's make them flatter, and maybe even like that. And yeah, should they be parented to, yeah, to the command. Okay, so why they are moving? Oh, okay, they are moving because there's some change in the some bone. Not sure if this is correct. Okay, this might be something about this mechanism. It's okay, not a problem. The problem is that relationally they are correct, the distance. So, oh, they are moving. Of course, there are copies. Let's delete all this. Yeah. Control C. Right. Now, if I so this will be like 3 meters. Hard to reach the other one. How can I reach the other? Alright, so strangely I have a hard difficulty to reach the extreme. I don't know where it is, spatially speaking. I can cross, yes. Here this is a max Z, sort of, probably. Why we are not reaching? Okay, so here this is a max X. Now it's a regular thing, right? There's a max Z, so, and when we start to get in the diagonal pose somewhat, it starts to grow because it sums up both of them. And this is when I want more activation of this action bone constraint. And so that's why it is built from, it starts to build from 0, but we could change that and start to build from like 3. That will be crazy, but it's not incorrect. It will make the change very, thinking about this could be a good idea, but maybe 3 is too. So this is like making change to the curve. It is not necessary. So if we have 0 to 6, we'll have like more regularity. The problem, more smoothness in the keyframe. The problem is that sometimes we don't want these corrections to be added to anywhere. So that means that it should be adequate, perhaps, that this doesn't start like immediately, like as the value starts to get stacked. Yeah, so there's a problem here, is that if that bone reaches the maximum, Like if the leg reaches that, this bone will augment, will move, and that means that it will stack the actions for the diagonal pose into the actions of the, for example, orthogonal pose here. And so this is not good. And so this is sort of combining already. So I haven't thought about that, but it's real apparently. So we need to perhaps give it technically. The problem if I just get it below 3 meters, that means if a pose like this, which has maybe a little of X and a little of Z already, but they don't reach 3, I won't have, yeah, they will have activations for the orthogonal corrections already, but they won't have any corrections for the diagonal yet. So this is why something like 2, 1, 2, or maybe 1, yeah, we can try the halfway. When it reaches cross halfway here, then it starts to get, so I'm gonna do a duplicate here, and gy negative 1.5, and here with, so 1.5 meter, 2 meter, no, 3 meter, and 6 meter. So these bones are just, yeah, so, and for some reason I cannot reach that. So it could be that it's only affected by this and the, let's see. Okay, there's an easy way, let's, or more or less easy way. Okay, duplicate, then go here. Okay, I need to expand this, then delete. Let's get on pose mode, let's get positive X, positive 90 Z, yeah, but we need halfway. Is that correct? It should be halfway. Would that be so? Rotate Z 40 degrees, 45 degrees. Rotate Z 45 degrees. All right. So technically, this should be the maximum evaluation possible. No, it's still growing. Oh, I see. Maybe it needs to. Alright, I don't know. It just doesn't. But yeah, it made sense. Curiously, it's exactly where I placed this stuff, right? So. Why can I not reach beyond? And then it warps. This warping might be because of the, oh, maybe this is because of the pole target, or the, even worse, yeah, it could be the preserve volume. Let's see if this warping, probably the preserve volume. So no, still apparently there's an inversion of rotation. There's still one bone here that has preserve volume, crotch bone. Maybe it's responsible for, maybe that, no, warping still affects. So it looks like there, if I push this bone, the type, it does a flip to the other side. These are something more. Yeah, let's load here. But the good part is that, well, as we cannot reach that, at least we, maybe if I kept, no, maybe something, oh, hold on. Okay, this requires an angle. Those values of rotation are not the same, but the proportionality should make it even in the end. So 3 meters, that, unless there's something wrong about this, I'm mostly sure this is incorrect, so I'm not gonna make this mistake again. Yeah, so yeah, so let's go. I'm not gonna manually refix that. So in principle this seems rational, but I fail to understand why this doesn't reach the I needed basically to have that same bone that I made here. I needed to make it reach the, like, rotate. Okay, I know what I'll do. So I'm rotating, stacking rotation here for the x-axis, 150. Oh, I see. I was doing the wrong calculations. And then let's give it a 120. But then I need to reach, yeah, so Z 120, it will bring me back to that position, except that the type here is completely tilted. But yeah, the z-axis is facing backwards, so it's like this character probably can't do this thing, but that means that if there's nearly some sort of contortionism, we can, if I turn off this, I just want to see the bone, so let's see. Okay, so how yeah, let's try that. Then yeah, let's turn that off. Just we are sure this will gonna happen. So we need some other, yeah, let's use these. Global. Okay, let's push from here. Rotate. It struggles, but yeah, we want this to, where is the, okay, it's very bad here, the position doesn't seem to be affected. Let's continue pushing. Seems inefficient. Yeah, it doesn't seem to do anything. Okay, so I'm gonna load here, so I still can't figure out what would be the maximum combination of x plus those maximums. Well, should be halfway. Yeah. So last test, folks. So I load again and I've lost the bone. Let's do this again. So then here delete that. This time I'm even gonna make two of them. Change the color here. This will be the z-axis. So rotate z 20 100. No, this was incorrect. Rotate z. Yes, positive. This is not okay. And rotate x 150. So I'm afraid this is okay. This should be right. So there is something. The bone warps out crazily. We don't even know where it goes. It's as it is absolutely not correct. Doesn't make sense. Maybe because of the parenting. Yeah, no, it's no. A bone that disappears like that. Okay, here I'm closer. Yeah, I'm closing to the center, but we don't see these huge. Another possibility is that those axes, they are never gonna combine themselves to that maximum. Although I thought I have achieved that already on other tests. So I fail to understand the everything about this stuff, everything that matters right now. But we try to make some stuff there for this regularity. I think it's a work in progress. So that was enough about this crazy. But this is the way we combine. And then what the important thing that, at least the way that I'm using, so it's feasible. So because I was able to, so the what must be taken into account also is that the actions, the corrective actions for this diagonal, they must be built, I consider, so this is still in process of research, but they must be built on top of all the actions of the orthogonal pose already made and enabled. So if I turn this off, this is how in main action I was using for all of the actions, they are different categories. So the orthogonal poses which go until is here the 70, so this is the inner bending of the leg, the side inner bending, side outer bending, back bending and front bending. Okay, so all these are orthogonal poses, and they are different categories than the diagonal poses, which I'm just making these two. So this is ready, sort of, well, still working, but mostly I've already fixed that, and there I need to do that, the last one. So in order to do this, yeah, there's some the way I did this is to have all the other actions enabled. So because I was too scared of destroying, because it already happened many times and I couldn't understand why, what I did was to take this pose, get outside of the action bone constraints, turn on all the actions except the own that I'm working on. So it's as if I was working in the action bone constraint, in the action, right? But I'm outside of it. And then I this is the condition that I'm gonna create the keyframes for these bones, and this must be correct. So even if that pose doesn't match the exact thing, also because this particular pose, it's, well, yeah, all this thing I'm gonna figure out later. So I just need to, you see, I'm creating poses for these helper bones, all of them. So all of them, I'm creating poses for this, they're stacking with the orthogonal. So this is a different one. These are orthogonal. I should give a name. So we could create a different action just for separating them, but I don't feel like that. I prefer to have them all stacked, even though it's less organized, but it's simpler to then, oh, everything is, all the corrections for the legs are on that action, great. Except that I think it can be worked inside the action too, if I do not touch the other action bone constraints while this thing is on and this thing is on, but it's risky, so I prefer to use this workflow. So I just need to make some small bits of corrections here, I think. And remember, so I'm using these transforms already to build these keyframes. I'm not entirely sure this is the correct approach, but I think it is logical, because the diagonals, they are built on top of the corrections of the made because of the x-axis rotation of the type and the z-axis rotation of the type. So it's converging stuff, and then for me, towards what it's hard to explain and to understand. So I think it would work even if we don't stack like I'm doing for the diagonals, right? But I think that will be if that ever worked, it will be luck, or because we changed the evaluation amount here, maybe we increase that, so this stuff will which are somewhat similar to the transforms that we did on these bones for the x, pure x orthogonal and pure z orthogonal, front bending and side bending respectively, for that in relation to the diagonal pose. Then we could improve that. That will mean that it will yeah, since they are sort of similar, we won't feel too much, we won't see too much problems in the adaptation, but it's a sort of a blind thing, right? So because I've already have the correction, the pose is sort of similar, except that it goes to diagonal. So in order to stack these deforms, I will, because as the type rotates left, maybe it loses X's inputs and maybe it loses Z inputs, and so by having these inset on top of this is as if I was reusing these action bone constraints, so they maintain and here the resulting effect, yeah, I think this is the resulting effect, except that, yeah, not double stacking here, but so I'm already seeing what the other orthogonals are doing. So I think this is the idea, the key idea, and by this I can have the ideal, not the ideal, but something that is less prone to failure, I believe, for the diagonal pose, which is very complicated. And if you've been watching this, you probably already can see why this is. So I'm not sure how many things I'm doing here that are different from the orthogonal actions, but it doesn't matter, I think, provide I get a good pose here without distorting those bones too much. the splines, it's more about good shapes here for the mesh. So if I can get it, yeah, I can even pose this this bone here, the crotch bone. Yeah, so the belly, let's see, we can make some belly leverage here. Yes, should be even in different ways. This probably need more of this. Maybe more to the side. Here also we can... Oh, I'm on normal. Okay, so this is why it is being a bit complicated to handle that. Maybe I leverage the belly even more for that pose. And so if I reset this, yeah, I'm just checking. So there's some strange shape here, but it's just minimal. Yeah, it's just some pinching thing there. I don't know how, what is causing it. Doesn't seem to be... Oh, this bone contribute. Yeah, lots of bones are contributing to it. Maybe. Yeah, I'll try to smooth this out in some ways. This is not too much contribution to that. Maybe there's... No, it's not here. Maybe it's the position. Yeah, this thing maybe. Yeah. To... Yeah, we must be a bit careful about this bone here. It can create pinching there. That's very tiny, so it's not like the character will become a statue on that pose. So, and they are clothed and all this, so this is perfectionism, but it's interesting that we can... I think here I've kind of managed to... No. This looks good, and maybe this bone, that's its original position. This with the action, yeah. So okay, maybe we can do that. And yes, okay, so a lot of stuff here, but it seems that it can work. So this would be the final action of this. Let's push this up. Let's push this down, and push this apart. Maybe, yeah, this here. Looks fine. Looks most likely. This is very exaggerated for the crotch, but maybe that's the position of this bone, I mean. But if it gets good shape, then that's good. So let's say that this would be the case. I'm gonna save this file before I do anything wrong. So then I copy this. Yeah, Control C actually. Then turn this off. Yeah, it's the keyframe, not the bones. So from the summary, so all the bones here are, I think they are 5 or 7. So the crotch, then the pelvis, the... Okay, so you have leverage, 3 leverage, and 4 fanny bones. Okay, it's under crotch, so it's all there. So you need all these, whatever, here, Control C, taking all of these keyframes, only these keyframes, then turn off that. Let's make sure that we turn off all the actions. They are all the same, nothing changed, they are all doing the same because it's the same action, and it's a left, but I think it's symmetrized automatically for the other leg, so that's interesting. I'm still trying to figure out. So it's Control C, and I want to now Control V. See the same channels here. Maybe there are more channels here, but so I've placed that here. Here we'll see different results, but just because here the actions are not enabled for everything else, I don't want to risk. So if I did everything correct, these poses must be looking good right here, except for the diagonal ones. However, because the actions are, well, actually this should be correct too, since I've pasted this on top of these. Alright, so now I'm confused. Alright, anyways, if I'll find that out later anyways, but at some point, but I'll find it for making a tutorial on this whole process. But currently, so maybe they are double stacking, but I don't need that. So I'm gonna save here. If it's wrong, just repose not double stacking. So here I'm outside of the action, and let me fix something that is going for too long already. That was causing some mistakes, okay, on occasion, and it's certainly annoying. So I'm going to go on the outliner. I want to Blender file, and so actions. I'm gonna delete some useless things, so that are causing mistakes. So how do I delete that? Okay, here. So this is important, this is not important. No, this is not important. This one is old, it's just causing confusion. And this is bad, this is right. Okay, I was making an animation with the NLA editor, and here we're gonna change this, and let's hope that the action bound constraints get, yeah, they get retargeted, that they retarget that automatically. This is correct. So if everything went well, that means that if I enable all that, the actions actually for all the bones, if I enable everything, this pose should be as I was working, and the other poses should be fine too, or maybe not. Yeah, maybe something. I see that we are gonna have some problems with stacking. So is that because, yeah, so maybe I didn't solve the problem, folks. No, I turned this off, and I have this horrible pose. So I don't, this is the error that I was, one of the problems that I was having. Is definitely, it's like something stacked wrongly. So if I do something on the action, maybe when I deleted the action, so this looks like a bug. Okay, this pose looks okay, but why then there are so much things going wrong elsewhere? No, this is looking good, so maybe it was something about the side bending only, something related to the, no, I cannot, no. Oh, it looks okay. So it was something like a new pose, a different pose that was getting bizarre, or it was just no, it seems to be work. I don't know, some pose that was weird, but now it looks good. I cannot find it, so I'll assume things are working. So right now let's, okay, I'm gonna save this as a D, no, there's already, so, and now there would be only one pose left to fix, the diagonal pose, assuming that I don't need other diagonal pose. I'm making these outer diagonals up the only ones that really are complicated because of how the buttocks and the pubis and all that upper thigh needs corrections on this particular poses. So the way to solve it, so in this approach that I'm making, also let's just check what I'm doing. Yeah, so there's this bone, there's this bone. Why is this thing? Let's, okay, this is a fan bone, so okay, no, I was confusing stuff. Okay, so yeah, okay, so these are still targeting that, and these require some, oh yeah, here we are using the wrong targets also. Yeah, so I'll have to revise. I have to revise stuff here everywhere, I mean. So in principle this, yeah, so this was again that mistake I loaded. I think that I've lost the progress, but that's simple thing. So I think this is, ultimately I would like to, yeah, so this is the bone that map type, right, that was left and not ready, and what that bone will do, it is just going to like copy, yeah, so just copy transforms to the type. So and workspace, yeah, that's well, maybe you can get some before. Alright, so before regional, but we got local space with no, workspace. Okay, we want it to match the type. Doesn't matter if I cannot pose it anymore, it's still okay. So not using right now for mapping, but it will be ready for that. So in order to solve this, let me just do something here. Hold on a second, please. 1 minute. So I'm gonna complete with this method the diagonal backside out bending, and this will complete this action don't constrain corrective rig with some caveats that this is myself that I need to solve, like I need to revise what worked and what doesn't, and if I can adjust, yeah, redo everything here to the map bone, just some readjustment, but it's one by one, it will be a nightmare, but I'll keep that to myself. That is, I really want that because I want to make sure I'm understanding well what's going on with this rig. Then I can make some tutorials. So yeah, so despite I have a rest position that is irregular, sort of an X pose instead of a T or A pose, because this generates rig irregularities, as I call it. There is still technical ways to remake to re-give regularity to the rig, and this is by using mapper bones, custom space, whatever that we can recover the spaces that we want. And this can be complicated, but sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not, and I hope this can, so that even if the type is like that, I don't need to use this axis. I can simply use the axis as if the deformed type was here. So that's the idea. So folks, let's go back to the, yeah, so I'm gonna save, and I'm gonna I'm gonna make a new file, so that will be like so AEF and AE, this will be a backup. So I work on AF. After too long I just delete those extras, there are too many files there, so I need to get that particular, the last remaining one. So it is in the action pelvis, it is the last one, so the last challenge. So we take this action from here outside, no, not outside of the, I mean outside of the action, which is secured. Yes, it is saved, safe. So now by getting the, I'm just working on one side, right? So getting everything disabled, no, actually enabled, making sure to, and turning off the diagonal one, yeah, because it's diagonal. I've made the other without it, so it's better not to, yeah, I think so. I'm gonna shift D that, so that will be, yeah, after I have to copy paste that, so so diagonal 2, whatever, after I solve this naming, so I'll name like orthogonal and diagonal for everything. So right here, okay, it's disabled, so I don't want that. I don't know what is the default of that. It's 0. Okay, let's try to just making all of them 0. This annoys me. Alright, and this and this. Okay, this looks like some unfinished thing, and just like drivers, you delete a bone constraint or a bone that has driver, and you don't delete the driver, it gets in the memory, and then it appears on the window console, and it haunts the project even if you don't know. The errors appear like thousands of errors if we don't correct those things anytime, and then we take we get a bad surprise. So this is not the case, these are not drivers. So let me save here. What we need by using Alt, also using screencast. Sorry folks, forgot about screencast. Here, save, but it doesn't save. Screencast must enable every time Blender is launched. So this is okay, all this is the same. And can I, yeah, nothing to do here. It's just, oh yeah, there's something to do here. So basically, if that was 80, 90, then the next is 100 with Alt, Enter, and the other is 110. So just making sure, Alt and click and Alt Enter. Okay, then it's disabled, for making sure both of them are disabled, and just double checking here, all the bones selected, right, for the left side. So now I can start recording, and I will try to fix this pose. Yeah, let's hide this, let's hide this, let's hide whatever. Now I'll keep that for orientation. So that's it. So we do I really need any other bones showing here? Probably not. So where is the bone collection? Not bone manager. So let's turn the control rig out. So here it's just visual. So the pose is already good, incredibly. So it's, but this is not exactly the pose that I want, right? Well, somewhat it is. So there are many problems in the, especially below. So these can be, yeah, a lot of problems below. This is probably, yeah, okay, we can, so here we can stretch the belly, leverage bone, maybe by a lot. Can we do something like that, maybe to the crotch bone? Let's see. Yeah, so let's try to use this stretching from here, right? So they'll move in blocks. We can, okay, so this can probably help to stretch everything. So this is how certain corrective rigs, more or less, like, that's not perfect, like, but it's more or less like what we would like to do when rigging shapes, or like some, no artifacts, well, there are artifacts, but like less problems with technicality of solving artifacts, and more artistic sculptural work, right, of the shapes, right? Yeah, this is not very regular thing to work, I know. It's hard to control the mesh, even despite all the efforts, it's still sort of chaotic, but at least it's not a nightmare if properly done. So this we can use corrective shape keys with the X and Z things solved, or that I think can be solved, except that with corrective shape keys we will need to use drivers. I think we cannot escape in default Blender. So the method with the drivers would include to the converging axis of rotation would be through the multiple inputs and some means of calculation then of the expression, maybe a dot product instead of sum, but maybe a sum too. Maybe the dot product is more effective. I have tried, but I was kind of frustrated because it was not straightforward. Had to do more mental work on that, and then had to solve the graph, which is a bit like the the evaluation thing. It's then the graph is sort of akin to the evaluation bone. It's like taking the output value or the input value, yeah, an output value probably, and get that evaluated value evaluated value, getting that value to be proportionally well related in the progress, in the rates of transforms of the affected bones in the action bone constraints for that particular pose. So it's like it's similar, it's sort of equivalent, it's just different. And personally I find that if drivers can be avoided, that would be better. So here apparently if we push this, yeah, maybe, so this bone we need to be more careful. It's a front bone, so what it is doing back, while this is a pelvis out. So this is like, should be, yeah, they are all messed up. These bones are a bit wrong position, like this should be pelvis in. This like this is might be the reason why this got so awkward. But yeah, so this must be more in the lower part. This is nearly correct. This must be more in the frontal part. Alright, so here we can control the, like for the pubis. And here, where's the crotch bone right now? Here, it's, no? Oh, there. So maybe, yeah, here we need to, let's reset, no. This front pelvis, yeah, maybe we need some rotation like that. Alright, I'm trying to fix that part. Yeah, here the belly has more influence on the crotch. Here we improved that wave paint so that we could work from that. Then here, if we, let's just reset the rotations to see, yes, too much rotations here. I think this reset already resets for the there's a problem here. The crotch bone doesn't have action bone constraints. This might be one of the, it's not being recalled even though it was posed. Okay, so I'll have to do something about that. We'll have to copy transform, but this will delicate, maybe I'll not showcase that process because it's, many things can go wrong there. So apparently, yeah, you see it doesn't have all this, the bone constraints, the action bone constraints. So it's, although I've made it for every motion there, every pose there, corrective pose, it is posed, so I don't need to exactly repose, but it is not being reproduced in the rig. So here a lot of things are going badly, and I'm starting again to face some problems here, and maybe because of some exaggerations that I've made here. Let's see. Okay, so maybe this, yeah, this is the back, so this must be more to the back maybe. And of course things are going very bad because of these decisions. Like I have to make a whole derotation of all these things around the thigh, so this is a bit, it's becoming a bit chaotic here, and it's clear. And because it's stacking from not a T-pose but from whatever I had ready, so I'll have to figure out how to solve this. What is causing this to... Oh, okay, so maybe we need... No, this is not... Can the crotch bone be responsible for that? No. So this, yeah, this, so... Whatever it takes, but it shouldn't be like that. Oh, okay, so maybe some motion here just collapse the mesh, then you start to do that. So maybe I've moved that too much to the... And all the ways I've changed this. Yeah, so here this perhaps is too... Okay, so here we found a problem that I wasn't being very well prepared. Maybe I can just redo this from scratch. Like, she has two butt cheeks now on that upper part here near the gluteus medius, and I just cannot... Oh, here, okay, this bone for some reason, yeah, I pushed this down and start to make... so this is very strange, but remembering that they are following a derotation that is not exactly of the type, so... And I've taking all this already from a condition of highly affected, I think, positioning of this helper bone. So they are not... I didn't start this from a default T-pose, because it can't be, I think. It needs to take into account the action bone constraint that's already playing, if, yeah, on that position. I just need to try to see... I've sort of solved the kind of the wave painting that was causing this kind of thing, but apparently... So let's say if I reset everything, we got a good pose. So yeah, I just ruined... Oh, I see, okay, so it has to do with the positioning of this whole block, but this is reset. and this is non-reset. So yeah, this I need to push them, even though it's bad for the crotch here, but I didn't find other solution. It's literally that these bones, they, not the case for this one. Okay, so the rotation of this bone was a bit crazy. So I'm not sure. What about the rotation of this bone? No. Rotation of this one? No. Position of this one? No. Position of this one? Maybe. Yeah, so move up. Even though this one perhaps should go more like there, but I won't. Yeah, this needs solved. So maybe we could have some helper bones in the crotch to solve that. And remember, actually this is not stacking the crotch bone, so this is a problem. So okay, now there's a smooth continuation here, so it's not too bad. Yeah, there's just from this angle it really looks bad, so maybe we can do something like that. And can I pick everything and try to sort of yeah, it's very bad. So I'm tempted to restart from scratch, but if I do that, that would make too long live stream already. So I'm just going to try to solve as best as I can. It's not horrible, it's just mediocre. These bones perhaps are alright, so maybe I can do something here. This is the outside, so it's like for some reason. Oh, I see. This bone seems to be better if indeed it's located somewhere like here. So but it's still very problematic. So yeah, and we still don't achieve very good smoothness on that area, but it's already what about this? Consider other problems that I have. This can be disturbing, of course, but it's not like nightmarish. Like, oh, it is the artifact you have to solve. You haven't seen much. Then this is minimal. This is it's very annoying because you see whatever I do doesn't seem to help, but there are way worse things than that. And so this is most like, oh, this is okay. I thought I got rid of those anomalies, but no. Very annoying still. Looks like if I collapse the mesh here towards that direction, for some reason it helps. Okay, so this bone was tilted in a way that is very bad for the... Okay, so this is key, so I'm rolling it, I guess. Yeah, so the rolls are crucial sometimes. We still So I should do more rolling here. Because it sometimes, of course, you cannot exaggerate because, and we don't have a good mapping so of how much it is rolled. Well, we have, but it's not. It's a bit annoying to watch. It's in radians. It's confusing for me. So let's look at the y-axis there. Just must make sure not to reach like 1 or anything too high, so otherwise it should be safe to, if things look good, just don't approach the, yeah, but then from this angle we see, okay, here we're reaching -7, -8, but negative, yeah, I'll try just to, there's some tilting of the bone, so these are a lot of, alright, this seems to help. From this angle, alright, then we can perhaps push this here, which is what I was looking for. Alright, let's move it as a block here too. So okay, so by some patience and investigation we were able to find out some of the, so the y-axis can be very effective at solving some mysteries. Let's see this one, just cannot exaggerate. So here again we have the crotch problem, and but then I must say that, yeah, so here the crotch is horrible, and this is the thing that I would try to solve as a last thing, so because it's being not very easy. Maybe here let's try to, yeah, by doing this I can try to, yeah, but this deforms the belly in a very bad way. So yeah, there's a stacking wave sometimes doesn't help, because okay, this is good for the crotch, but then the belly gets very bad. Maybe here, let's see if I can play with this. Yeah, alright, so, but no, it's not that good. Sort of helps. Yeah, this is very difficult because it doesn't seem like I have a good bone for this, and if I push this I just have, let's try to push together. No. How about this one? What about this one? No. Yeah, so maybe the combination of them would do. And it's a very radical pose anyway, so let's reset here and see if this, yeah, so here there is definitely, it's hard, so I will try to address this part later. So okay, so that would be a possibility for this pose. It's not great, but it can, well, considering how exaggerated that is, this is actually good. But yeah, it's not satisfactory if the character was naked or like that, bare. Too much complications on the mesh, right? So I cannot say the method like is gold. No, the way I'm doing, right? Cannot say that, oh, it can be done easily, it can solve all the problems. No, it's very, and this that I'm even not taking care about muscles, accurate stuff like that of anatomy or a realistic character. So if this gives already all that kind of trouble on a cartoon character, right? This is annoying. Yeah, so not the problem is that, okay, what remains then? I would tell at this point that I found there existed, right, but I didn't know exactly how they would be handled, that exist the XII diagonal solutions, right, with corrective methods. So this was one of the last problems I faced with corrective shape keys approach, and I didn't know how to handle that at that time. I thought, well, too bad, shape keys are not working also for that problem. Then I just interrupted that process and went back to armature corrective method, just as I'm doing here, folks. But then now with that new realization, what I can tell is that if this theoretically, and other riggers that are expert on that would probably say yes, but the problem is finding content and adequate explanation, tutorial and content on this domain, right? But yeah, they probably will everything suggests that it is feasible on corrective shape keys as well. It's just that we have to handle the drivers and the expression and the evaluation of time with according to the graph and what happens on the model. So, and of course there is all this relation that I was explaining with the keyframing that must be somewhat. We will not be using keyframes. Well, maybe for basic animation, but it's not actionable constraint, right? So we'd be using the we will have to compare the amount of a shape key with the other amount of another shape key and see how it results in the diagonals. And we should always be aware if the diagonal corrective shape key doesn't get high on the extremity and the orthogonal poses. So this is the same problematic here, but made in a very different, quite different way. So, but the principles are, the theoretical principles are mostly the same. It's just that technically it's quite different problem solving wise. The way we have to handle each part of the rig is the corrective shape keys, the drivers will need to the extra window everywhere, then you have to go back and forth here too, but I think this is more easy to solve. However, the corrective shape keys have something great about them, which is this whole idea that is extremely valuable, which makes them like the default solution for those things usually, which is the fact that shape keys, they don't interfere with the algorithm, the skinning algorithms. They are independent of that. So this is extremely valuable in many cases, like face rigging. So for example, this mouth, I'll give a concrete example of this power. This mouth here of this character is a regular shape, very regular shape, the lips I mean. But here we don't see it. Why they look irregular? The regular shapes are very good for a rest position, for a mouth, and making a cartoon mouth expressions without corrective shape, without it will be with armature. It's the sonic mouth rig setup actually. It's a thing that I was trying to implement here. You find it Blender forums. There are a lot of content and some conversations very interesting. Some rigger made it like genius stuff, right? And I have it here, but it's not totally functional. I didn't finish the adaptation that I wanted. But okay, so one of the main keys factors to have it work for cartoon mouth expressions is that the mesh of the mouth starts out very regular on the mesh rest position. Well, this is not the case here, but this is just because I have a shape key. So this is a corrective shape key, but not the way we are used to. This is a special corrective shape keys. It renders a plain stupid mouth, good for armature deforms, ideal for armature deforms because a very regular mesh, into a morph. It will always be one. Well, maybe there are cases that not, but this is in principle, this is built on independently of any armature deform, or so the rest position of the mesh of the mouth, which is here, is but it's false. Actually, it is this one. This is the true one. This is what the artifacts will read. The artifacts don't read that, the morph. And so this allows me to morph anything virtually that will be deformed regularly, and then on top of that, or simultaneously, this input of the corrective shape key or the extra implementing shape key will come here, not as a correction, but as the shape of the natural shape of the lips themselves. So whatever the pose is of the mouth, they will get these lip shapes. And I could have others, but I'm not using this as a I'll see what I can do with only this one. And so so I'm not gonna develop more about ideas about that, but okay. So if I were using corrective shape keys now to solve this, and I can solve the diagonals just as I'm trying to solve here with action bone constraint, then it is very much likely that corrective shape keys method is much better, simply because of the fact that they will grant the adequate shapes. We'll have a little of difficulty in the becoming between orthogonal pose and the diagonal pose, and then the orthogonal pose, but if we can address this with the converging axis to the drivers, and I think it's perfectly feasible, and have good good analysis, then if we can get the converging system to work there, then we'll have a much easier time solve, because you just morph and tell Blender, okay, this is the converging, XZ gets this. When XZ, when the leg goes orthogonal, then reduce that influence of the maybe to 0, yeah, towards the this is something I don't know exactly how to do. Well, this, yes, the graph editor inside the driver's panel. So but yeah, it's more complicated. Maybe there is something to zero out from the expression. So if something can be built out of this with some functionality, then we would have, then even myself I would say, well, let's do the following, folks. We will, if that was the case, the correction key, so I would do the following, folks. I would not use the profile bendy bone splines, the fanny bones here, yeah, because they are too time consuming. I would still use the fan bone as a deformed bone. Maybe I could use these, but not like I'm using here. Maybe just one for the front, disconnected splines, one for the back, maybe something simpler like that, just to give a better, yeah, fan bone corrective deforms for the joint area of the hips joint, hip thigh joint region and whatever, just to have a better starting condition for the then to attack with the corrective shape keys. So I'd use a much simpler system of that. I wouldn't be doing all this. Maybe I do some automation here, but maybe not with action motor. Very simple stuff maybe. And then, yes, these ones will be required because it's the leverage systems. We could do this with corrective shape keys, but if you like sculpting, that will be fine. But the leverage is very simple, usually is the simplest part, so, and it's very effective. There's no bone mechanism for this, and if we try to solve this with corrective shape keys only, that won't be very, it might be very hard actually. We might disrupt the mesh too much. So if we build the shape keys on top of the armature deform with these mechanisms of leverage, then it should be better. And then if you can build the shape keys already through some basic analytic fixing of the artifacts, just the basic stuff, maybe not even anything extra before beyond that. So the fan bone, oriental fan bone, as a, because it opened like a fan like that, just as a starting analytic. We could even use the smoother bone here, that one, hold on. It will have a more massive impact on that case, so it will smooth out this one, so maybe that would be okay. Let's see what it does right now if we enable. Yeah, it's not too much, but it has very low waves anyways. So this is yeah, so we could use it because those won't be in place, and so we would solve whatever else remains more artistically with the corrective shape keys. So we solve part with good analytic or easier bones that will solve artifacts, that will smooth out stuff, whatever, and that gives extra mechanisms that are important to the anatomy. And then on top of that is where we can use the corrective shape keys more like an artistic sculptural thing, instead of struggling to solve all the artifacts to the corrective shape keys. So it will be something more like what I'm doing here with this, in the sense that here I start with base mesh, let's say, that is very more regular, like on that other case, more rid of the artifacts, let's say for the hip stiff joint when on difficult poses. And then I just use the shape keys to implement better anatomy shapes. Yes, maybe we'll have to fix artifacts at this meanwhile, because there won't be all these bones to solve stuff, and that will be then maybe the good combination of techniques to solve this. This is horrible. I don't know how to get it. Oh, maybe that way. Alright, let's try this. Anything else before I save this? Yeah, sorry folks, I talked too much, but I think this was technically, that was helpful somehow, and will be helpful. Very theoretical stuff, right? Need abstraction, even though I'm trying to show. Okay, so I wasn't able to solve that, but anyways, it is somehow that I did all that just to say, oh, correctly shaped keys are better. No, they are different. So this is very frustrating, even though yeah, I did my best, and even so it looks like I still struggle with minute thing, but in a great deal this is a bit messy, this last pose, because there's the crotch, there are little errors that sums up, and okay, so I'm gonna pick that. So let's do this complicated technique again. So it's just the handles. Also, I don't want to be looking at these ones. So it's just these ones. We bring them with some. Okay, actually, the crotch too, right? So this time I won't forget this. So Control C. No, it's not. It's Control C here. Let's select this. Then we go into, yeah, turn this off. Let's Shift G here. Turn off all stuff here. I already did Control C, so this, whatever changed here, doesn't matter. We go inside the action. It's the last one, and I'm gonna do a Control V. And here it's not correct because they are inactive, the action bone constraint. So, and for some reason it's even worse than before, than outside the action. No, it's no, I don't know. Anyway, so I reset here. Is there? Yeah, there's something lacking. So the problem is that I did that with only one bones, and I need to find out diagonal 2, which was this one. So I'm gonna go again here. Control C. Actually, I'll also give this one. So Control C, copy selected constraints, only diagonal 2. Now all of the handles, they got the diagonal 1 and the diagonal 2. It's all the same. Then here I need to copy from whichever bone. Control C, except for the, I think it already has the 2. Yes, so, but this wasn't recorded. Yeah, they were recorded, alright. So they build on top of an automation that already exists. this is required. This will stay always on. So if I'm gonna save here. This was risky because never know if those actions, things can go wrong. But alright, so remember these diagonal poses are special, so what we see here is probably, well, not necessarily. The others we see here are actually incorrect, insufficient, because they are the bone constraints are off, right? No, actually these are correct. Yeah, these are correct. The orthogonal poses are correct. Only these are incorrect because it's turned off the orthogonal actions for them. So now the problem is the crotch that I'm not gonna solve here. Maybe it's already automatically solved, but I suspect that will have to be refixed. But basically, if I turn on now all the action bone constraints, then for all at the same time. So here in principle, if I were to Shift H, let's see, actually this and this, apparently something went wrong here. Maybe this is the stacking of the diagonal, something that I haven't, must be developed later. Some fine-tune refinement of the influence rate and how the rate. We see that we don't, even without the bones, we see that the deforms are sort of being effective. And here on a pose like that, let's see, yeah, it doesn't look very good, but it is not horrible. Yeah, it's not good also. So there are things here that and I'm not sure why, but so it's intricate. Even with corrective shape keys, it's not like we would have this solved very easy. But at this point, I must also say that my whole mapping mechanism is still old-fashioned, right? But let's say that in principle this is working. Oh, I forgot that pose, the last one. Let's see. So yeah, not great, but also not horrible. So it's like except for the crotch, of course. But yeah, it's for an animation that should be okay. I mean, there'll be clothing depending usually, and then at least for this character. So I'm not really satisfied. This is why I really consider that perhaps the best solution would be indeed that combinations I've mentioned, because whatever to do here, armature deform with those Stone Age skinning algorithms that CG software uses right till today, like linear blend skinning, dual quaternion skinning, even spline skinning, because it's very limited to certain things, right? Like we cannot, yeah, can we make a full rig with spline skinning, but it will still have the art to solve artifacts for some regions. I think I've tried, but apparently this is not. So it's very, very easy to ruin a rig with this. So with all the effort, we see that it remains complicated. with all the simplifications, it's still quite complicated. A lot of things can go wrong, and this was not my goal while doing this. At least it gave me some great profound insight in all this, and including in the diagonals thing. If I were to try to understand this solely by doing driver solution, maybe I wouldn't understand the way I understood here on the armature deform, which is usually more visual, I think, more yeah, bones and stuff. So folks, in conclusion here, we made the action, corrective action. There will be the symmetrizing part, but I'll skip it for now. And I think I need a new, more challenge here, so I'll consider this ready. But of course, I wouldn't like to use it on a project the way I've concluded here. There's too much little mistakes and cumulative errors that are very difficult to fix and must be fixed manually in minute details. A lot of things that can go wrong, and but one thing that I would really try is to fix that that orientation and then see if I can improve that. So maybe myself, I wouldn't live stream that because I think there are more interesting things to do right now. Would be really to try to make this more regular and see if that improves the and yeah, maybe assess the wave paint once again, maybe some of ideas of the rotations. There's another idea that is listed in the things that I want to experiment. Maybe I'm not gonna do it, but the idea would be, okay, what if those are just regular bones, right? So instead of bendy bones, well, we could, if I save here, I'm not sure this can be replicated easily. This probably would be a mistake. If I turn off the bendy bones, okay, they are all now regular bones that which origin is here, which whatever, not origin, their head, and so they will still transform. Yeah, they can still, do they? Yeah, apparently they even are. Yeah, it spins. Alright, so from both sides. No, it only spins from the tail. Alright. So now that they are just regular deformed bones, this means that we can compare, sort of a bad comparison, of course, because this is not the way we do, right? I cannot delete the handles because the handles are the ones containing the action bolt constraints, but we could see the results on the mesh, maybe on the smoothness. We can try to solve some posing with this, see if it's too different from the bendy bones, right? It doesn't seem too different. Maybe it's easier. It feels better in some sense. It feels weird because I don't see the bendy bones, but I never attempted this, but yeah, this is kind of interesting. I don't know what to say. This is not spline skinning. It looks feasible, perfectly feasible, even easier than the deforms don't look, they look quite smooth. They don't seem like they are getting. The cool thing is that they are being relational. The deformed bone is here. Of course, this was also a deformed bone, but the cool thing is that they are being relational here, even because of the stretch 2. So maybe the stretch 2 influence has some degree of spline skinning, but I think one bone spline skinning. I don't trust that, but it's one segment doesn't make sense as spline skinning. But anyways, let's try another pose. Maybe this will be a good approach because it does simplify a lot the rig. So if this is maybe we lose some smoothness, but it becomes some smoothness potential in theoretically, right, or that in practice are not very easy to develop, but it does look powerful. It is not doing too much different than faring too much different than what the bendy bones can do. So it's like this is, yeah, this was a mistake. Probably I posed this bone wrongly. Yeah. I don't see any particular reason not to use this instead of the bendy bones. Let's see another pose. This is not the complete idea, right? Because the complete idea would be to have these bones exactly as regular bones without stretching. I cannot do that now because, well, I can, but I lose all the. Okay, let's just check here also for this. It's hard for me. I've been working to get convinced that this can work just as well and much easier than bendy bone splines because I've been using bendy bone splines all the time while avoiding regular bones because of the smoothness. But okay, so this looks to be much easier to. Of course, the fact is that those things are already rotated in many ways, so it's like there's already. I'm working on top of stuff that are highly work, but it's much faster because we don't even see the bendy bone spline. We just go like that. So and it's quite smooth. It seems to be better to create deform. So let's try the next thing here, which would be to taking off this stretch to bone constraint. So now this means that this bone will be completely, if there's anything about them that relates to bendy bones, then no more. So, oh, they still have, no, it's disabled, so this do nothing. So, alright, so this means that, okay, they still do the same thing. So, this is very shocking for me. Maybe it is a mistake to use bendy bone splines for corrective complex joints in this way that I'm using for the profile. Yeah, the problem with the profile, the curve net thing here is that there are just too many artifacts, problems, irregularities. So the bendy bones as profile curves, they are good when we really have control over the mesh without irregularities. Then we can shape everything. But here, with regular deformed bones, things are working really well. I don't need to test the diagonal pose to also to reach this conclusion. So maybe I was overdoing it. Yeah, most likely I was overdoing. So I was talking with another rigger, Philo Viverio. He has a channel on YouTube, and he's a rigger also of human characters. He rigs models and rig girls and Disneyan-like girls, somewhat cartoonish, but still quite pretty anatomically accurate with muscles and stuff like that. I do things very more simpler, more stylized, way more stylized, as you can see. But I know a bit of anatomy. I used to draw a lot of characters, so I take attention, but I don't need to make a muscular character like here. But some shapes I try to put into play, but in 3D it's much more difficult than it in 2D. So a lot of stuff I just have to simplify, or I struggle too much to achieve. So yet, because I draw for a very long time, while rigging or using Blender is much newer thing to me. CG, right? 3D art. So yes, it does look like that we don't need bendy bones for this. What could be these can be used? They could be indeed used like the shape of the bone doesn't really matter. It's like the orientation doesn't matter really. It's just the bone, like a point in space, and we do whatever we want. It looks very accurate, and so maybe this will be a way to make this thing easier. And by overdoing it, I was making it much harder than it needs to be. So I have experience with regular deformed bones when I did another tutorial without action bone constraint, but with transformation bone constraints. I struggled a lot with these inputs and the deformed bones. This character has got, I'll show you what are real profile bendy bone splines. Yeah, so maybe this is also overdoing in some point, but let's say we have this profile curve here for the nose. So it has some delay, but this is really on the profile, right? So currently I didn't finish this part of the rig, so you see the profile also works here for other. Maybe this wouldn't be with regular bones, maybe that wouldn't be that simple. So or maybe I'm wrong. So curious thing to investigate. Also here there are, these are not profile bendy bone spline, but yeah, so this is the eye rig. This is another thing. Where are the controls for that? Not here. Well, I think it's here, but I don't recognize the bones. Oh, here they are. So here there are a lot of bendy bone splines, so they are actually good for this kind of stuff, right? And yeah, those are the handles. We don't see the forms are here. Yeah, so you have the eyelashes. The eyelash is a different thing, but I was remaking it in some ways. I want to focus on this enough. So the eyelids, the eye contour, right? The contour of the eye. This contour of the eyelids. This is bendy bone splines. It is doable, I think, with deformed bones, but it might take a little more bones. It might be not as smooth. And just as this maybe, so these would be like the eye hole around the orbicularis oculi region. So I've displaced these bones. They were outside, and now I've decided, well, what if they were exactly on the eye hole? I think this will give more precision, and indeed this was correct. Although I would do similar stuff, the wave painting is nearly the same, but I've repositioned the position of the splines from the rest position on the, I didn't see that, on the exactly nearly the eye contour, the shape of the eye hole. So now when we pose this, we see that the curves tends to follow. So this is, I think, is much better so for shaping expressions. And then also the eyelids have similar thing. And the eyelashes, they are automated. Although after the changes I've made, I need to readapt. And here we can change all at the same time. So those are the main bones. They change. They move this. They move this. Yeah. So. And of course here would animate this with the pose, also using a lot of pose assets, right, for the pose library, but I don't have the assets, right? I have not been focused on this too much. I've was conclude that I could do a lot of cool expressions with this already, but then I went to other challenges. But certainly for the character design that I'm making, yeah, I need to rework on the eyelashes and some other stuff. I really need for my character to have really good facial expressions, so I need to improve that. Another change that I've made is that the eye was wide open on the rest position. Another time I started it with eyes closed. There are advantages and disadvantages. Now they've decided to do what would be correct, technically accurate, but I'm not even feeling the benefits of this yet. So maybe it was a mistake. I've made the eyes sort of halfway closed, halfway open on the rest position. So this means that I had to reposition all the mesh, do all the stuff, and then the expression now is the rest position expression is a bit bizarre. But that would be I could do, just as I did for the legs and arms, there's a mechanism bone that would set the real rest position, rest pose, instead of this. So not sure about that, extra bones, why, if I can just get a pose, right? Pose assets to do this nearly the same thing, except I have to click on the pose asset to after each time we reset. Anyways, so folks, what I'm planning to go next as live streaming, now that we have what's happening there, I don't know, doesn't matter, I'm not saving this file anyways, we messed with too much stuff. So I'll by myself be revising all that stuff and see if I can get stuff improved. Also the eyes needs improved. What I think would be interesting to go next would be to continuing solving some simple joints now. Well, there is the complex joint of the shoulder, which for this character, because of the anatomy that is relatively simple, and this rest position, the deforms of the shoulders are nearly very good on everywhere. There is not, it's very different from the hip stiff joint, although there's wild rotation with just some few implementations like this this system, this for the armpit. So I was able, this is automated, right? So if you see that it will be moving. There, yeah, we can do more stuff, like maybe pushing this. All this I did without action bone constraint. It was very mechanical with the transformation bone constraint, I think. No, not even that. Copy location, dump at track. Yeah, so very simple stuff, and you see this bone helps a lot actually for the shoulders, I found out. Yeah, it smooths out very well. So but the rest position, this is very good for these arms up, very bad for arms down. So maybe here I have to, because there are a lot of difference to that, but you see this can be solved with some, yeah, here I have to make a revision maybe. Maybe here I have to, so this kind of stuff, right folks? But you see, it's not as bad as it would be perhaps to solve this. This is much more complex, I think. Maybe I'm wrong, but so far I think this is a good approach. So I was resolving the simple joint of the elbow. You've seen that I've created helper bone for this thing. I solved sort of this joint. There are more things I want to do. Muscles, I want to do some scaling bones for the muscles, see if that can help the anatomy, right, on these flexing muscles or squashing stuff. And then yes, this automation of muscles or flesh I never done, or fat, whatever. Here this spline is very bad. I need to improve that for a very long time. Now I'm using the same idea. This is the combination of so I'm gonna use fan bones everywhere. The shoulders doesn't have fan bone. Here I've already set a fan bone. So it's a fan bone in the combination with that, and this is not so bad to solve as it was for a past stream with that I've made for the knee, because here the bending is not too much. You see the difference? Much higher bending on the knee from the rest position. So this was nearly naturally solved, and the bendy bone spline was collaborated much more. We can still improve that, of course, but I worked on the wave painting too. But I need that helper bone also here, the fan bone. I want to put it here. Yeah, it's the arm, so nothing to do with this one. This is an extra helper bone. So it's here that I need the wrist. I need the wrist. This is not working very well, or is it? Wrist twisting? Yes, it is. So why? There is the twist feature. That's fine. Okay, okay, that was implemented. But what about twisting of the arm, if that even makes any sense? Yeah, so apparently we don't have a twisting feature here for the, but it's sort of okay. Maybe we, it's subtle. I don't know if this is, yeah, maybe more twisting here will be required. So, but I don't know what it takes to twist that in terms of armature right now. So it's something to investigate. Then another thing that I want to solve is okay, so here another of these things, maybe fan bone everywhere, even in the foot toes. Yeah, this wave paint is terrible. It looks like an alien foot, although this character is an alien anyways. So this could be, maybe it's not, well, yeah, technically let's do that. Let's do a fan bone there. I'm not sure if for the fingers we would need that. I have Ike fingers. It will be very time consuming to, no, it's simple, right? Should I do why ain't I able to, yeah, here. So this is auto I key, is not, no bone constraint systems here. So this is just here, view, pose options, yeah, auto I key, control X, no, Shift Alt X, whatever. So now I can't do it, but I can, no, I cannot pose them because these are locked. So I have two chains here for the fingers. So it's same for the arms and thigh. There's a mechanism chain straight up, and this is peculiar because the fingers, I want them to rotate on both directions, right? So to the I key, so you don't use a pull target, you don't use, not even decide not to use I key bone constraints. So just make it simple. And so this is the deform chain, and this is the mechanism I key chain. So these are control bones also, so we can combine the motion. Let's turn off the deform chain here. For some reason, okay, here, so and control Shift Alt X, I think, yeah. Something happened that it resetted the, alright, so I don't know what's happening, but maybe some I key that got, this shouldn't happen. I don't know if this is peculiar to, okay, it seems to reset that. If I pause later though it works, but as soon Okay, maybe it shouldn't be parented as it should be right now. Yeah, so they are parented, so maybe I'm not sure about here. Let's see. Disconnect, does that help? Ah, aha, okay, so that is very important, folks. Let's go back in. I didn't know about that, or maybe let's. I hope this doesn't cause any other trouble. So this is the control. Should be minor control. So just get this, and this. No, and this, and because of the okay, and just a quick test here. Shift Alt X. No. Shift Alt X, then move here. There. All right. So it doesn't. The IK chain doesn't affect the. Here I need to create perhaps some constraints to give more difficulty to bend in some directions. So from the inverse kinematics panel, but this is time consuming, and but it's an interesting challenge, but there you go. So yeah, the texture, another thing that I need to retake is the strategy for texture. I'm looking for some automation of clothes making, some crazy thing, like even considering geometry nodes, like to automatically push clothes out of the character in a certain way, crazy automation, so they would respect the because I have clothes, but because I keep making change to the rig, I have all the time to which has been very stupid in terms of pipeline. So but it's part of perhaps the learning process, but maybe I'm exaggerating. So I have a lot of clothes here, and of course many of them are incorrect also because of the texture, because when I changed the mesh, the texture, I was learning advanced texture techniques, not so advanced, but like multiple texture stuff, and then the problem was that originally I decided to use procedural stuff only, but then I start to be intrigued on the texture thing, that it looks much cooler, like games and all that. But then I start to make more intelligent decisions. That would be to have. Wait, now I'm. Did I save that? Sorry, folks. Now because I started changing the file. Let's see here. There's a minute thing to, yeah. So they are still parent. So maybe I didn't save. So this no. Okay. Here. Are they connected? Yeah, so they are connected. So let's, and parent save is the, then open again. Okay, so it's here. So about the clothes, so my decision then, after having learned how to make a lot of texture stuff, was to, because of all these frustrations of back and forth of the rigging, I've decided for the following. Whatever the skin has manual texture, right? It will be a special thing. Whatever else would have like these gloves currently is texture, image texture, but I want to make it a procedural texture again, and maybe as a mesh again, even though it was difficult for the wave painting adaptation, so not sure totally. But then even if I don't do that, I want to replace it again with procedural texture, because then errors start to occur all the time on this back and forth, like same here. So maybe you'll be worrying why all that. So the skin, I'll make an exception. What I can do though is to leave by the skin texture just for the end, so like I keep things procedurally, and the only thing that would be, so the skin and some clothes that have special patterns, like I don't know, a symbol, something crossing, some colors, yeah, so those will be the clothes. So maybe that would be how to say, the clothes that will have image texture, but the image texture would be more certain, more peculiar patterns that I won't have everywhere. Maybe on the thigh there will be a flash thing, something like that, some design, more 2D-ish design thing, not the base texture which will be procedural. So I won't be wasting too much time. It will be more automated, whatever, because procedural texture is very good in that sense, and they are very powerful in Blender. So folks, another thing that I've ruined on my file is that as I changed to Blender 4, some add-ons got broken, like Wiggle add-on, Wiggle 2 add-on that I was using. I cannot even install it back on this version. I have the old version, but I've made so much change here, so I need to redo physics in some ways. Not they were the hair was successful. I have to find an inbuilt way to do that, perhaps, or wait till Wiggle add-on gets adapted to, which we don't know when will be. And it lagged also for the baking, so I'm considering other physics for the hair and the skirt and the cloak, whatever this character has. So yes, I'm considering some other things, and that will be something else that I'll be recovering here. So next thing, folks, will be the joints, simple joints, complex joint for the shoulder, fixing all that, and we'll make steady progress after this thing was completed today. So thanks folks for watching. Sorry about the excessive speeches and replanning. We are going to be back tomorrow, I hope, and we'll be making the simple joints. For a lot of people, maybe this is still new, right? Simple joints, and we're gonna address all that with fan bone technique plus the Blender Studio bendy bone spline corrective technique. And so that's it, folks. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow, I hope, and take care. Happy blending.